Howdy riders, welcome back to another episode of Ride Between the Wines Virtual Edition. In this edition, I was speaking with Maurizio Zanella, who is the proprietor, the founder, the owner of Bosco. Now, if you've never heard of Bosco in Lombardia, or if you've never tried Franciacorta or are familiar with what Franciacorta is, you should absolutely check this out. This is going to be a great episode, very exciting. On top of that, I would like to mention that Bosco is one of the several wineries that Santa Margherita brings to the country. And I had a great episode with Aaron Harris, was one of my first episodes, still in the audio-only edition. So check that out, episode 3, Aaron Harris, My Old Friend, which is kind of funny once you actually listen to it. But other than that, at the end of this episode, stick around because I have Steve Cook, who's been in several episodes so far. This is the first time in video for my Take 5 segment where I talk to a local restaurateur and talk to them about what's going on. So, without any more said, buckle up. Let's ride.
The world we live in is an amazing one, full of passion, wonderment, and of course, fine wine. This is the story of one man's journey to fully understand and appreciate that world. So kick the tires and light the fires. It's time to ride between the wines.
It's Burgundian in style. Just a whisper of cherry.
Very nice legs.
This is so perfectly balanced.
Such an old world style.
Is this laced with tobacco? A total fruit bomb.
I say, so fancy!
So let's go ahead and get started. To everybody listening at home, obviously the featured guest is Maurizio Zanella, who is the proprietor, the owner of Bosco, amazing in the world of Franciacorta. I'm very excited to have you. And then also, not quite on so much video, but you're probably going to hear from him a little bit, and he'll pop up in a bit. Is Jacob Gragg down here, who is he's an advanced somm. He is Bosco USA's brand ambassador. Very knowledgeable, cool guy too. So super happy to have both of these fellas here. Welcome.
Well, thank you. Welcome. Welcome to me. Welcome to you. Jacob is more than ambassador. Is the soul of Bosco in the United States.
Oh, well, that's quite an admission. I love that.
You're much too kind, Mr. Zanella.
No, is that true? You know this.
So, Maurizio, if we could kind of just get started by, I feel like before we actually get to Bosco, maybe just tell us a little bit about Franciacorta. I suspect that's something that not everybody out there has even heard of or tasted.
Yes. So first of all, the name that is very difficult to pronounce in the United States because many times I heard Franciacorta, Francicorte, and the right pronunciation is Franciacorta. The meaning is a court, a area, a region. Franca is no tax. So this was unfortunately more than 300 years ago. In this region, tiny region, there was a lot of monastery. And the monk, they are very smart. They've been to the king several times to say, we have no money to pay your tax. So finally, the king decided this small area was tax-free. And so became at the time, curte is a region in Latin, and francae is no tax. So it was a region with no tax. And unfortunately stopped this. But now it's more than 150 years that this changed. But for 400 years, this region had no taxation for the people living here, thanks to the monks. And that it was so the name is very old. We are located between Milan and Venice. We are just south of the Dolomites mountain. Okay. So at 40 miles from us, we have glaciers of 3,200 meter tall. Now in feet is about 10,000, something like 10,000 feet tall glaciers. That is less than 40 miles away, and they go through a valley and a lake, and this is a little bit the climate changing and the most important thing, because we have a very huge difference between temperature day and night. That's low to get the grapes ripe, but keeping the freshness, the pH, the minerality that you deserve when you need to make a wine that should ferment twice. The first time to get from sugar to alcohol, the second when you add some sugar to get the bubble inside the bottle. So a wine that have to ferment twice need to have have ripe grapes, because a lot of time I heard people say, I do my sparkling wine, I harvest early, and I am not so happy, because these people, they will never do a great wine, because if you harvest early, you have not the ripeness, the fruit, in order to make a great wine. And so it's very important to have the maturity, the ripeness of the grape in order to make a great wine. But you deserve also the acidity, the minerality, the pH, in order to balance the double fermentation that this wine will have, that is different from all the other family of wine. Another thing very important for Franciacorta that perhaps not many people know is the fact that Franciacorta is a wine and is not a sparkling wine. And believe me, I am not drunk, and I have not taken a joint 1 minute ago. I am normal, not drunk, no joint. So, but what I am talking to you is very important to understand that we are talking of a wine and not a sparkling wine. Which is the difference? First is legal. Legal means that in Europe, you have a law for each country. So France is law, Spain is law, but then they go in European EEC law that control all the single law of the country. For the European law, is mandatory that all the sparkling wine have on the front label a right where the consumer know that they are buying a bottle with bubble inside. So in Italy, it's mandatory to write spumante. In France, it's mandatory to write vin mousseux. In Germany, you must write sect. Everything on the front label must be right in order the consumer know when he buy a bottle that inside this bottle there are bubbles. Okay? There are two exceptions. And one is the region north of Paris, east of Paris, starting with C, that perhaps you are familiar with, that I love. That is a wine that I love. And the second is Franciacorta. And both these two appellations, they get from the European Community law the prohibition to write anywhere on the bottle the word vin mousseux for champagne and spumante from Franciacorta. Why? Because both the appellation, we want to speak about the appellation like a wine and not the method. We don't care if it's champenoise, bottle ferment, sparkling. We want to focus on where the wine comes from. Exactly like Chianti, exactly like Bordeaux, exactly like, Verdicchio di Jesi. So we are talking of the two appellations and not of how the wine is done. Is secondary. We don't care if you have bubble or it doesn't have bubble. We care about where the wine comes from. So it's very important to understand that Franciacorta is a wine. For sure, he has bubble incidentally inside. But first of all, we want to make the consumer familiar with our region and not on our bubble. This is very important. We want to be considered in the wine world, not in the bubble world. And to be considered in the wine world, we have to follow exactly the rules of the wine world. So a wine is from Napa and not necessarily a Cabernet. A Cabernet is a Cabernet. Is a Napa Cabernet that is different from a Cabernet from another region because it's Napa. And Napa is more important than Cabernet. I don't know if you understand me. So
I do, yeah.
Franciacorta is more important than méthode champenoise or bottle fermented. Is a lot more important. So it's forbidden to write on our bottle the word spumante, and it's so strong, these rules, that is forbidden also to write DOCG, that how you know is the highest recognition of the origin, because we don't want any word on the label, only Franciacorta. No DOCG, no nothing. So DOCG you can read only on the strip that are on the top, you know, where you have the cork. You have the DOCG sign that is from the government, but we cannot write in any part of the label DOCG. You have only DOCG on the top with the small sign that is a government with all the number. So this is to understand when we are talking of Franciacorta, for sure we are talking of the wonderful bubble wine, but we are more, I would say, relaxed if we talk about wine and not of sparkling wine. Franciacorta is a very tiny region. It's only 3,000 hectares. That is about 7,500 acres, more or less. And is about 250 growers. And of these 250 growers, 120 make also bottle.
Okay.
We don't have cooperative. That is a very good thing in Italy. We don't have, we have only one negociant. That means that buy grapes. It doesn't have vineyard. And this is basically the reason why in Franciacorta we was able in the 90s to make the most strict rules of producing a wine of the category that we speak before.
Okay.
Why? Because there was no conflict of interest between the three people that is always, I would say, fighting each other. Because the three category, the people that have the vineyard, the farmer that produce grapes, the people that bottle the wine, and the cooperative are normally the three different view of an area with three opposite interests.
Correct.
And so with those three different interests, you don't arrive to put the rules how one category wants. You have only to compromise between the need of the three categories. Having only one category, that is the grower, was more easy, was not easy, was more easy to set up rules very strong in order to make the strongest rulers in the world to make a bottle of a wine that have double fermentation. So the lowest production of grapes per hectare, the harvest only by hand, no irrigation, the squeezing of the grapes. From 100 kilo, you can have only 60 liters of wine. So the longest time of maturation on the yeast, we have minimum for the non-vintage 18 months, 60 months for the reserve. So all those rules, rules doesn't make quality, okay? Quality is made with culture, tradition, and focus, not by rules. But rules, strong rules, help the community to take a direction, because you don't have 10 that go in one direction, 20 in another direction.
Right.
So it's a mess, because everyone have his view, but with the rules, you give an orientation, you give a direction. So that is the reason why Franciacorta, in only 30 years, get a good reputation from the market, because there was a clean idea that there are, at the time when we start, 16, then 30, then 50, then 100, now 120 producers that they go in the same direction. Obviously, with all the small difference between one style to the other, but the direction is the same. And so we was able to get a good, I would say, a good return from the consumer in Italy. We're talking about Italy because worldwide, we are just starting the first step. How you know, even if Del Bosco is in United States from 30 years, but is not known by the consumer yet. It's not from the trade, but the consumer doesn't know what Franciacorta is. And so when the consumer found the bottle, try a bottle of Franciacorta, he doesn't try a copy of this or a copy of or Xerox from the other one. I believe he tries something different that have his own personality, his own style that you like or you don't like, but he's something that have his own personality. This was what we want to get from Franciacorta. I believe I speak too much on Franciacorta, so you have to stop me.
No, that's great. So quick question. So you said running for 30 years now. So 1990 was when the Franciacorta Consortio, correct? And,
yes, Bird.
And you were with the first group. You were the president of the first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I was not president.
Oh no, not president, but you were. With
I was one of the founder.
One of the founders. Okay.
But I was not president, but I was for sure one of the founder of Consortio in '90. Yeah.
Are rules still being tweaked at this point, or is it pretty much the same that was laid down?
Is move the rules have moved of the DOCG. Moved before was DOC, then became DOCG. Then we have changed the rules 5 times.
Okay.
Always keeping the level of the jump higher. So every time that we was moving up, in order to slowly push the producer to go, in a higher direction.
Well, that's great. So they're not becoming relaxed. They're actually going the other direction. That's fantastic.
It's the only DOCG in Italy that have changed 5 times. No, the other rules, they have changed maximum 3 times.
Oh, that's
we are the only DOCG that have changed 5 times. To tell you how much we want to move in order to get to be always, online and to follow the need of what our direction, and where we try to give to the consumer, let's say, something that is not obviously, but to try to give emotion. And in order to give emotion, we have to put all the area in a certain direction.
Yeah. Well, I think that's fantastic that y'all are still doing that. That's great. All right. Well, let's get away from Franciacorta for a second and talk about Del Bosco. What does the word mean, and how did you found it, and what was that all like?
Yeah, Del Bosco is a translation of Ca is a short name in dialect of casa. Casa is house.
Okay.
Del Bosco is of the forest. Is the forest house. That's why was this name on the city map of our village, that his name is Erbusco. And when my parents bought this small, was not even a house, was like a cabana, was a small things in the middle of the forest that have no light, no water. The road to arrive to this small house was, you can only do with the off-road car, because there was no road, no telephone, obviously. So it was something really, they have light with the lamp, with the petroleum inside. They have water from a kind of small, let's say, swimming pool, where they get the water from the rain with the frog, and they take the water and they boil in order to use the water, because there was everything inside this water. So they was boil the water before to drink and to use to cook. So it was really something, and we are not talking of prehistory. We are talking of 1968, when my family bought this small piece of land, and their dream was to do a small farm, because we was living in Milano, that is the main city in Lombardy, and they want to have let's say, something very discreet in the middle of nowhere where they can have natural food and to have apple, pear, chicken, rabbit. No, I cannot say rabbit with Jacob because Jacob will kill me. So we don't
have a pet rabbit.
any rabbit. So we have pigs, cow, and whatever. And so it was a little farm where we came the weekend, and there was a farmer doing the cheese, the butter, and give us the fruit, give us the chicken for all the week in Milano. We have all the natural food that was done in this. And then my father make a small house where we can stay during the weekend. And then for a certain number of reasons, I was sent to this house in the 71 because I was a bad boy at school. So they want to put me there in order that I was away from Milano, where there was the communist revolution. In the 70s was the student revolution in France, in Italy. And I was obviously in the middle to be, even if I was 14 years old. And so they take me out from these things and they put me in the middle of nowhere, try to study. Then by chance, I was in France for a trip with all the agriculture of the region. And I have a good contact with probably one of the most important sellers in the history of France. And I was fascinated for what I saw. And when I turned home, my father was really a genius, not like me. He was a lot more smart than me. He understands that finally I have an interest. And so he put me in condition to, when he saw that I was interested to the wine, to say, hey, come on, start to do a cellar. And everything start like a dream with no budget, no plan, no, like an artist, very casual, very only on the, I say, the private feeling and not a planning. We have to do this, we will do that. No. Then was a big, I was lucky that I met immediately 2 years later, 2 years later, a gentleman that have changed a lot the view of Italian winemaking and Italian food. His name was Luigi Veronelli. This gentleman was not a writer, was let's say, a philosopher. I say philosopher in English.
Yeah, sì, philosopher.
A philosopher, and was anarchico, was not communist, was not democratic, was not republican, was nothing. He wants only that the food and the wine and the farmers, they have their dignity. So it teach me a lot. And obviously also to teach me to think, to be a little bit, I say, we have no compromise on quality. It teach me and it give me a lot of contact, because when we was traveling, all the door was open in front of him, because he was the most influential people in Italy that was writing about food and wine. So all the best restaurant in the world, all the best winery in the world, they was opening the door to him. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I was always with him. So I became in contact with all, when I was still 18, 19 years old, with Robert Mondavi, with Warren Vignaski, with Andrei Chelichev, with all these people. They became friends like this, because there was this contact, and the same in France. So he gave to me immediately his international view, a knowledge, a culture that I was missing, because I was 18 years, 20 years, so I was a kid. But I was able to immediately go inside from the front door without to turn around to find the door. So you understand, I was very lucky to get all the right contact, the best restaurant. I was in Spago in LA, it was just open. I was at Le Cirque in New York, it was just open. So I live with them all their evolution or their history.
Right.
And they became friends, obviously. So I was very helped from Mr. Veronelli, that have been always my father point of view of of Cadel Bosco. Without him, probably Cadel Bosco would not happen, because I will take 30, 40 years more. I was not one of the first. I became one of the last. You understand? Because I was with the right timing. So Bosco born like this, and we start to do some wine. And when we was doing the still wine, I was the help of Andrei Chelichev for do the Chardonnay and the Cabernet blend, because obviously he became a friend until harvest 85, when he get a contract and he say, I have to stop because they pay me a lot, but they want the exclusivity in Italy, and he starts the project of Ornellaia and Maceto with Ludovico Antinori. It was harvest 85. So Andrea made with us only 82, 83, 84, 3 years, because 81 I have done alone. Then 82, 83, 84 was Andrea working with us. And then when he moved to Ornellaia, because he was become consultant, he left us a young winemaker from Napa that was just came out from Davis 2 years before. His name was Brian Larkey, that he was working at Far Niente, and he stayed with us 85, 86, 87, 89. And then I was need to sell the wine United States. Say, Brian, now you go United States to sell the wine after you have done the wine, because you go back to your country. And then he opened a company, and now he is a company called De La Terra, I believe, or he have his company in Napa Valley that import very good wine from all over the world. So this is a little bit the history. And then another person very important was, because we start to do this wine with the bubble, so I have no idea, and I go in Champagne, and I make an ad on the local newspaper called L'Union, was the name of the daily news, and I make a small ad. I say, we are looking to someone that can help us to do a beautiful project quality. So I was very lucky, because I found a gentleman who was just fighting with his boss, because his boss was changing, and he wanted to have a revenge. And even if he was 63 years old, he wanted to have a revenge with his new boss and say, you will see what I will do. And so I found the right situation in order to have Monsieur Dubois. Dubois is something that is right in the sky, because Dubois means Del Bosco, means Dubois is Del Bosco. So I tried to change his name from André to Maison, but I was not I was not able to get André in Maison. But if not, was Maison Dubois was perfect. Anyway, without any blood. So what here, the culture, the tradition that we miss, and so not the technique, because the technique is zero, but you need culture and tradition, and we was zero. And so Mr. Dubois arrived, and when Brian Larkey get in the cellar, was a fight, American-French fight, because you have a UC Davis guy from 32 years against a French man of 70 years old that have never studied, fighting, one with the speaking about bacteria, the other one speaking only to clean the floor. So it was a mess. But I was able to get the best from both of them, and it was very helpful, both of them, in order to build the reputation and the direction of Cadel Bosco.
And so how long did he stay?
Dubois make his first harvest in the 80, and his last harvest is 91. So he have been with us 11 years.
And does Stefano, was he the next winemaker? Is he the current winemaker?
Stefano Capelli, that is the actual winemaker, made his first harvest in 87. So he get both Brian and Monsieur Dubois.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, so that's awesome history. Thank you for that. I want to talk a little bit about Cadel Bosco currently. There's a couple of different things. One thing that is indicative to Cadel Bosco that I think nowhere else in the world, that I don't entirely understand, but is very cool. Can you talk about the grape spa, the bubble spa for the
Berry spa.
berry spa? Tell me
Berry
about that.
So I take some minute to explain you. Cadel Bosco we are estate growers, so we have vineyard from the beginning. We don't buy grapes or wine. We buy some grapes only when we have hail, or when we have a lot of problem, or when we have frost. But in a normal year, we don't buy grapes. So we have our vineyard. Those vineyard those vineyards have been also trained with the conventional agriculture. That means not using herbicide, not using chemical fertilizer, but using chemical product against the sickness of the grapes forever. In around the 2000, we start to try to do organic and biodynamic. We have done 8 hectares in organic and 4 hectares in biodynamic in order to try our feeling and our way of thinking with the 3 systems. So conventional, organic, and biodynamic. After 5 years, so around 25, 26, we decide to go everything to organic. But to do this, we was not able to do in one time. It took us more or less, we was moving 8, 10 hectares a year. The time we have already 130, 120 hectares. So it took us a long time to go from conventional to organic. But when we was doing this, our first harvest, I want to underline, that is certification, I say European patent, that is 100% organic, is 2019. We are very young. So we are certified with all the 240 hectares, that means more or less 600 acres in 9 different areas of Franciacorta, only from harvest 19. So what's happened in 25, 26, around those years, that we was making wine with the same vineyard of Chardonnay, for example, that was done in conventional and half was done in organic. And when we get the wine, we was always find for 3 years that the one in conventional was, in terms of aroma, was a lot better than the one in organic. And so we was very, very disappointed, because we was doing a big effort to go to organic because we have no experience, we make mistake, was more expensive, we lose some fruit. So there was an effort to go in a direction not to do a better wine, but to make our environmental more sustainable, more clean, not to do a better grapes. I still don't believe that we do a better grapes on 10-year average, okay? On 10-year average, I am not still convinced that we don't do better grapes. But we do, because we have a more sustainable environmental, and agriculture is what we need. So even if the grapes are not better, we must do this. It's a mandatory to be organic in order to give to our son and our nephew a clean planet. We cannot spray everything everywhere. So doesn't matter. And so it's not a question of quality for Cadel Bosco. But we was disappointed because we do all this effort and then the wine is not even good. It's in aromatic. So we start to study with the Milano University of Enology. Why? And after 3 years, they always related that when there was a lot of residual of copper and heavy metal like iron and zinc, especially copper, this copper residual that you have on the skin, because if you treat organic, you give copper, it go to the skin. If it doesn't rain, this capper go in the juice. And when it's in the juice, interfere with the yeast during the fermentation and doesn't leave, explode all the aroma in the right way. Mm-hmm. So the wine are good. It's not that the wine is terrible. Absolutely, it's a very good wine. But in aromatic, is always less clean and less smell, not the same. Mm-hmm. So we start to think what we do now, because we have to do this. We cannot go back to conventional, but we want to do the same wine with the same aroma. So we start to think what all the food industry that do fruit does. Everyone who do olive oil, wash. Who do orange juice, wash. Who do yogurt, wash. Who do jam, wash. Who do whatever. Yeah. All the food industry wash the fruit. Everyone. There is no one that process fruit without washing. Obviously, not in the wine.
Right.
Why? Because it's blaspheme. Mm-hmm. Because water was the first thing to make more wine in the past. Was the first, how you say?
Dilute.
Fraud. The first fraud. Fraud?
Fraud. Mm-hmm. Fraud.
Was the first fraud. In the 60s, a lot of people that do junk wine, they was adding water. Mm-hmm. So it was not even thinkable that a winery that is project on quality think to use water. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. So when I start to speak, the people say, are you not? And still now, some people look at us and say, are you not? You wash? And I say, yes, we wash. We are not killing anyone. But it's blasphemy, because it's like to say, I put the devil with God. They go together to dance. You understand? It's a nonsense to use the water making quality wine. But was not like this. So we try to save a small quantity, and we see that we was able to clean from the skin of the grapes the residual. So in 2008, we started the first equipment that we have to build ourselves, because it doesn't exist. Because the people that was doing this machinery for the olive, for the orange, for the apple, when we told to them, we want to wash the grapes, they said, are you crazy? It's impossible, because apple, olive,
very hard.
Orange, they are hard.
Yeah.
We cannot wash the grape because we broke everything. I say, you don't want that we broke it. For sure, I want perfectly.
Right.
So we was also a little bit not to know what to do. Then we thought to the people that wash the salad that pack for the supermarket. You know that you can buy the salad already washed in this small. So we are go to these people and say, we want to wash the grapes. And so they say, well, can try, perhaps we are able. And so we start to do the first, prototype. And then we start with 3 washing stations, like 3 big jacuzzi. Mm-hmm. The first take out the dust. The second one is where you have the sanitification with citric acid. And the third one is where you rinse the grapes. And then there is the process to dry, that is the most important one, that we changed 3 times already in 12 years. We are the 3.0 berry spa, where with cool air, we perfectly dry the grapes without broken any berry. All is compact and rolling slowly with the vacuum system and air that push very fast.
How long does it take to go through from start to finish?
After the hand selection, because we hand select the grape before, from the end of the hand selection until the grape go inside the press is about 2 minutes and 40 seconds.
Oh, wow. Okay, very quick.
All the process.
Okay.
And very interesting thing to tell you how good is working now, that when perhaps during one night is raining and we have to harvest the day after, theoretically, we don't need to process the grapes. But we process because the grapes are more dry after our process
After your process, then
than,
off the
than
vine.
if you pick from the after they take the rain,
Uh-huh.
because our machine that dries is spectacular now, and it completely dries the grapes. So we even if we harvest grapes that don't need because they have already the rain on,
Mhm.
we process with the washing because they are more dry than the wet
That's
one. After the
fantastic.
rain.
Yeah, it's
To
cool.
tell you how it's working well. And then there are a lot of other advantage. The first one is that we cut the SO2 from 40 milligram to 15 because we don't need to protect the wine.
Mhm.
And the second that we found out only 6 years ago, around in 2015, is that we don't need anymore to clean the sediment. We leave all the sediment and we do a big batonnage in the tank
Mhm.
because all the sediment are good. They feel good. They're not feel dusty like before,
Right.
where we have to clean immediately the heavy one that are not good, and you leave only the light one. No, all our heavy sediment, they are better than the light. So we leave everything in the tank and we move every week the sediment
Uh-huh.
in the wine in order to give to the wine more spalla, you say more substance
Uh-huh.
to the wine. So we are very happy about our berry spa, not only because it clean from copper, but it clean also from pollution, because we are not in the same country that we was 100 years ago, where the air was fresh, clean. Sometime here in Europe, when you have some certain wind, you get the sand from Sahara, and you wake up in the morning and your car is red. They say, what's going on? And it's the sand coming from Sahara, then it rain, and you find your car completely red. And
Wow.
this sand coming from Africa. So I don't believe that Africa's sand add quality to our wine. I have nothing against Africa sand, don't believe me, but I believe that it's better to make a wine without the sand. So it is very important because really have make our wine literally more clean in the smell, more clean in the integrity, more clean in the purity of the varietal.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah. I was lucky enough to go out there, I think 2 years ago, and actually get to see it in practice. And it's a very cool, apparatus. So
yeah, it's not bad.
Well, I appreciate your time. I don't want to take too much up for it. I do want to ask you one other thing before I let you go, which is that I recently learned that you have a similar passion that I do, which is that I can't stand drinking good bubbly wine out of a flute. I like to have it out of a full glass. This is exactly, my nose can fit in it. It's such a better thing. Could you speak to that for a second?
Yes, thank you. Because first I want to point out that I am not a glass producer, so I have no interest in glass. I am not friend of Mr. Riedel or Spiegelau or whatever. But I hope that the people that is listening to us today, they after I spoke, they will broken all the flute that they have at home.
Yes.
I hope. So there are 5 reasons why I believe that the flute is the most is the glass that destroy literally a wine.
Mm-hmm.
It destroy a wine, a sparkling wine, a champagne, a cava, a sparkling, California, South America, South Africa. It destroy all the sparkling wine in the world. A prosecco. You cannot use the flute.
Mm-hmm.
Is to broken. The only thing that you can do with the flute, or put a rose inside, a flower, or broken the flute. I tell you that, in my opinion, the 5 reasons why this is happen. So a good wine like ours, sometimes you need 2 years, 3 years, 10 years for an Maria Clementi, for example, to get his maturation, his evolution on the yeast.
Mm-hmm.
Then we disgorge the wine without oxygen. In Bosco, we have a pattern where we don't leave oxygen get in,
Mm-hmm.
and then we cork. And obviously, when you open a bottle, the first thing that need a wine like this is to breathe. Have been closed, you need to breathe. Because if it doesn't breathe, he cannot open it. So you will always drink a closed wine because he cannot breathe. So you need a very large relation between the surface of the wine that
Mm-hmm.
can get oxygen with the one that is under. So if you do something like this, very tall, long, and very short, you cannot give any oxidation to the wine. And the wine doesn't feel what should be in a large glass where it can get oxygen contact and open up and drink in a decent way. The second fact is that if you drink with a flute that is very narrow, very small, the wine go in your mouth, and when it's in your mouth, stay in the center of your tongue and go down, and it doesn't go on the border of your tongue. And how you know, all the papilles where you taste, they are on the border, they are not on the center. So you taste the wine different. If you take the same wine from a large glass to a small glass, the wine tastes different, not because the wine is different, because one wine you cannot taste because it doesn't go on the papilles, and the other one you taste because it's large and it go in all the tongue and you can taste it.
Mm-hmm.
So the third issue is ergonomical. I say, how we stay. So when you eat, the line, I try to move like this. The line on your head, when you eat, is always completely vertical.
Uh-huh.
So you eat like this, you drink like this, because you are being educated to eat with your head in a vertical position.
Uh-huh.
When you have the flute, even if you have a small nose, I don't speak of people with big nose, even people with a small nose, I have not too big, the flute go in the nose, in the upper part, and oblige you to go with your head back.
Exactly.
Behind. And you assume the cormorant position, like you are a big bird, and you are obliged to drink in this position that's totally uncomfortable because you are not used to drink like this. And the wine is uncomfortable. So when you go in a party, even if they sell, I don't know, DP Prelude or Enotech, you will always see that on the end of the flute, there is always some wine. A little bit. You go in a party, when there are 300 people, you will see half of the flute with some wine on the bottom. Why? They are not empty, because it's uncomfortable to drink. The third reason is historical.
Okay.
You know that champagne have always been drink in a coupe, large coupe. You know the story that Louis XIV take the coupe shape from the breast of Marie Antoinette. So she have beautiful breast. I don't know. I don't want to go inside the breast or not breast, but was a large glass. And we have drink. They have drink. I was not born, but I remember we have always drink from more than 300 years until 1960, more or less, in the coupe. Then in the 60s, someone wake up and have this disgusting idea that he want to show the bubble go up and down, and invented this stupid closed and long glass in order that the people enjoy to see the bubble going up and down. But for 300 years, and history, I believe, means something in our life, we have drink in a coupe, always. The fifth and last reason why you have to destroy all the flute that you get at home is how you dry your glasses after you wash it. In a normal glass, when you wash your wine with the machine, by hand, whatever, then you have to rinse the glass to take the humidity, because if you put away the glass with some humidity, one glass every three always take the smell of the broken egg. I say when the egg delay. And then you take this glass, you put some Cadel Bosco in, and it tastes disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
But not Cadel Bosco disgusting. It's the flute that he was not able to completely dry, because you cannot go down with the torchon, with the you cannot get on the bottom.
Uh-huh.
And so you put away your flute with some humidity inside, and then a lot of time this turn in bad smell that you will get on your next wine. So those 5 reasons are more than enough to decide to don't use anymore the flute.
Well, I agree with you completely. And thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for making this delicious wine.
I hope it was interesting.
It is. One of my goals is to explain to people what Franciacorta is and get that out there. So I'm going to keep that going, and this helps me a lot.
Yes, and after this terrible COVID, I wait every one of you in Cadel Bosco, you have to go online and reserve the visit, because we are very farmer. So if you don't get the feel, the thing, we don't open the door. But one time you feel the internet thing, we are more than happy to welcome all the people that are listening me now to come to Franciacorta and Cadel Bosco, because it's something unique.
It's gorgeous and amazing. So thank you so much. And thank you, Jacob. I'm sorry I didn't give you a lot of room to speak, but I appreciate you being here and setting this up for me, which was fantastic.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having us, Mike.
All right. Well, y'all have a fantastic day, and chin chin.
Grazie. Ciao.
Cheers.
Salute.
Salute.
Hello, Mike.
Welcome back to Ride Between the Wines. So this is back to Ride Between the Wines because Steve Cook has been on not 1 but 2 episodes so far. So check out episode 7, Now We're Cooking, which is in the audio version, and episode 25, where he came back for our 25th anniversary live episode, which is where him and Brian Hogue, local sommelier, stepped on stage, and it's absolutely amazing. So check that out. I'll probably put a link somewhere to that. But thank you back for the first time in video.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
So, as I told you, I'm bringing back the Take 5.
Take 5.
But now that I'm doing it local, which we won't always be on 2 cameras, social distancing for the moment.
We are currently at opposite ends of an 8-foot long table in Saluda's private dining room.
Exactly. So we have.
In case anybody was worried about that.
Sometimes with the Take 5 segment, I'm trying to talk to local business owners, especially as local businesses are opening back up, which is what this has, and invite people to learn more about them. So if you're ready,
Sure.
I'll fire 5 questions at you.
Bring it on.
All right. Question number 1. Last meal on Earth.
Okay.
So this is your last meal on Earth that you're ever going to have. What would you like to eat, and what would you like to drink?
We call that a death row meal.
Death
right?
row meal, exactly.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to have a big New York strip. Maybe a porterhouse, a big one, 2 inches thick, medium rare. I know the steaks can speak for themselves, but I really need a nice red wine Bordelaise, just something a little dip. I want some really nice scalloped potatoes, maybe some Gruyere cheese in there, some asparagus with hollandaise. I need a creme brulee, and I'll drink a 1997 Schaefer Hillside Select.
I love how all of that was cocked and ready to go.
Oh,
You're giving a lot of thought to this.
Sometimes I'll sub things in there, but that's what I'm going to do. I mean, we could go sushi or something. No, that's what I need. I got to keep this meal down too. You know, assuming it's my last one. So
It's true.
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like it. Question number 2. Story time. I would like to know the funniest story you have from this restaurant, or one of them. I'm sure you have a lot, and it can be staff or guests.
So many. I hope I haven't told this before to you, but not as much anymore, but I'm sure you've gotten little tricks played on you when you first started in this industry. You got, send somebody next door to look for the left-handed tongs.
Smoke shifter or whatever.
Yeah, empty the hot water out of the tea urn. So one time there's
Tabasco funnels, a personal favorite with the teeny Tabasco sauce.
There you go. Yeah. So one time, this is back a few years ago when Delaney's was still open. We had a young kid. Most of our people are, say, 25 years old or older that are servers here. But this guy was 21, really eager, young guy, and it was really like, he would do anything you asked. He was really happy to have the job. And so our kitchen guys, we used to make, I would still do sometimes, we'd bring in whole lobster bodies. We would cook the meat, and then we'd take the shells and cook them all the way down. So at the end, you had a stock pot, like a 10-gallon stock pot with just a bunch of lobster bodies at the bottom. So the chef goes up to him and hands this to the kid. He says, hey, Delaney's called. They need to borrow some lobster bodies right now. In the middle of the shift. He's like, okay. So it stinks, right? It smells like boiled lobster bodies. He grabs this thing, waddles down the street, walks in the front door. Delaney's is packed. It's Friday night. And he's like, where's the manager? And they're like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm here. They said you needed to borrow some lobster bodies. And they're like, get the hell out of here right now. And so he comes back, and we're laughing our asses off. So I walk back out of the dining room and walk back to the kitchen. And they're like, he quit. I was like, oh my God, really? I liked him. We only play tricks on people we like, And I walked and I opened the door because he got in his car and drove off. I opened the door and he's standing on the back steps. So that was pretty good. We got him and then he got me. I legitimately thought this kid quit. Started feeling really, really bad about it. So I don't know if that's the funniest story, but
no, that's pretty
first
good.
one that popped in mind.
Yeah, I like it. If you've worked in a restaurant long enough, there's a million of these things. I can get buckets of steam or whatever.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Buckets of steam, that was one at Harper's we used to use.
That was a Harper's. And you had to, the hot water that you would get out of the hot water spigot, we got to empty out all the hot water, but it's endless supply of hot water, obviously, which, in retrospect is a huge waste of energy.
It's better than this one time this kid quit, and this was 10 years ago. You can't do anything like this anymore. For God's sakes, we'd be up on charges. I don't even think I owned the restaurant at this time. This guy quit. He'd worked here for years. And they said, all right, tonight we're gonna flour him. They took cooking oil from the fryer, cooled. They hit him with it, splashed it with it. Then they floured him, okay? Then they threw panko, Japanese breadcrumbs on him, and then they threw him in the dumpster. So it was kind of hey, he was going off to culinary school. So he was like, oh, you think you're better than us? We're gonna throw you in the dumpster. So again, things were much worse 15 years ago or so when we first started in the
I
business.
have a theory who this person is. I'll ask you off air.
Jimmy Machina.
That wasn't my theory, but that's
Good guy. Runs restaurants in Nashville now.
That's a whole different level. Please tell me when they threw him in the dumpster, it wasn't from the...
Oh, no. It was kind of
right?
ha, 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 tip you in the dumpster. He had to go in there to get the stuff off of him, Anyway.
All right, new level. Love it. All right, question number 3. I call these booze clues.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you the clues. I want you to give me the booze. The location. Saluda's patio overlooking the beautiful 5 Points and the fountain and everything. The time, I'm going to say about this time of year, early summer, and just before sunset. Gorgeous. The occasion, this is going to be you and your partner's first dining experience out since the reopening of the restaurants. Okay. I would like to know, what are we drinking?
Domaine Carneros Brut Rosé. Great winery, great location. I think our view of 5 Points doesn't kind of recreate what Domaine Carneros has, overlooking Carneros down there, but it's really the same vibe to me. When I was there, I felt, at home. I think fantastic wine. I would go rosé. That's too simple. Let's go Domaine Carneros Brut Rosé.
That's awesome.
That work?
Yeah, and I can picture exactly what you're talking about there too. That's a perfect. You got these things ready to go.
I did not know the answers to this question. I was not informed.
There was no
of
betting.
these.
I'm very impressed. All right. Question number 4. Times. They are changing. Mm-hmm. Name one element of the restaurant industry that you expect to be mostly extinct in the next 10 years.
Extinct. I don't think anything's going extinct. I think that things are going to bounce back quicker than people think. I think everybody is sort of obsessed with the moment and thinks things are going to be like this forever. I think that in the short term, really, really high-end tasting menu, 11 Madison Park style restaurants are going to have a hard time reopening. Mm-hmm. They just focus so much on being somewhere for so long, have such attention to detail with their service and all that. I think that's going to be a really, really tough thing to open. I also have been looking at vacation stuff, and apparently the swim up bars in hotels are going to take a big hit. That's a bummer.
That's interesting.
I don't know exactly the rationale. You're in chlorine, but the swim up bars apparently are a problem. But going extinct, I think shitty restaurants are going to go extinct like they always do. The good restaurants are going to find a way to adapt. But the particular model of a tiny, closed-in, super high-end, long experience, you're going to have a harder problem getting that back to turn back on, I think.
That's interesting. I don't disagree. Question number 5. This is Stick the Landing. Tell me what makes Saluda so special. Why do people continually come back here for not just a great meal, but for events, anniversaries, all that stuff? What is it about Saluda?
Sure. Well, I think the easy thing that about Saluda's is that people would say, maybe if you just brought it up, is that it's a beautiful restaurant. It's in a great location. We have an awesome balcony patio area. Our dining room's beautiful. You know, a 19th century bar. Those all kind of stand out. But there's plenty of beautiful restaurants that were here and have gone. And the thing that I think has kept Saluda's at the forefront of people's mind is we're a constantly evolving restaurant. It's not the same as it was 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. We changed with the times. I've seen a lot of places, some of our neighbors, like Garibaldi's across the street, for example, that they never really changed. Mm-hmm. And people's sort of tastes changed and they kind of got left behind. The key for us is to constantly keep that energy and sort of just bringing in new stuff to where we're not stagnant. So yeah, if you haven't been to Saluda's in 5 years, shame on you. But when you come back, it's going to be a newer restaurant. You know, the thing now is everyone wants to chase the new restaurants. And who knows now if new restaurants are going to be opening up for a while. But that was the thing is we got to go to this new place that opened up. I like to think Saluda's is constantly evolving and new. Every few years it's a different iteration of what we have, and I think that's what's given us the staying power. And I'd like to think that myself and our staff is no small part of that. We're the engine that constantly changes things and moves forward and makes it different than it was the last time you were here. We try to make an improvement every day.
Yeah. Well, I love it.
I'm not good at short answers. I'm sorry.
No, that's great. I mean, it's always on the tip of my tongue. Somebody new to town, where should we check out? Or somebody who's been in town and hasn't been here or in a while. Awesome food, great stuff. I forgot to mention, so this, ironically, or by design, I guess, this segment is going to be at the end. You guys just finished watching Maurizio Zanella talk all about amazing Franciacorta, which is something a lot of people haven't had. Saluda's has been a long-time supporter of Bosco. So if you actually want to taste what we've been talking about, come in, enjoy the views, like we've been talking about, the great food, and instead of that Domaine Carneros, start popping open some Franciacorta. But other than that, Steve, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Mike.
There you have it. Another episode down. Thank you so much to Maurizio. That was an absolute pleasure to get to speak with him for just a few minutes. Cool story, great wines. Check out Bosco. Check out Franciacorta. Ask your local bottle shops. I guarantee that's something they have or they would love to get in for you. So very cool stuff. Support that. Thank you so much to Steve Cook. If you've never eaten at Saluda's restaurant, if you're from Columbia, come on, get on it. And if you're not, come into town and check it out. Great food for a long time. Center of 5 Points, gorgeous views, wonderful food, very heartfelt and well thought out wine list. So good stuff there. Please like, subscribe, tell your friends, share anything. If you are watching this right now, it's on audio also in Spotify. If you're listening to this, it's on YouTube. If you want to see what Maurizio or Steve or I actually look like, maybe there's fun there. Please stick around for next week when we have Alberto Chiarlo, who is the son of Michele Chiarlo out of Michele Carlo in Piemonte. Very cool Italian producer, so that's a lot of fun. Other than that, see you next week. Till then, chin chin.